We live. What's going on, Jamaica? This is here, aka 100 Agency, back with another video. It's not even gonna be really a video. It's gonna be a rant talk. You know what I hate about relationships? They come easy to some. They don't come easy to others. And I've always wondered my entire life why. Why the fuck do some have quote unquote everything, and others don't have anything when it comes to relationships? Why the fuck is that? Sorry if I come off a little bit mad and forget anything about YouTube ad revenue. It's probably been under a minute, and I've already cursed like 2-3 times, whatever. Wasn't getting paid for this anyways. Right now, currently today, Saturn is in a square to Uranus, exactly at 18 degrees, which means if you have any planets in your natal chart which are 18 degrees, you will for a fact, in fact, be feeling the effects of these planets in relation to. If you have placements in either Taurus, Aquarius, Leo, or Scorpio, you're going to be feeling challenges or difficulties towards said planets. I have placements in Aquarius myself, where the sign of Aquarius sits in my chart, so that's why I'm feeling these things. Very, very difficulty. And it doesn't have to be exactly 18 degrees. It could be, it's basically the entire sign, because it can go up to 10 degrees in either direction. So that could be 8 degrees, that could be 28 degrees. But as long as the planet or the aspect is a square in general, that is going to point to, during that period of time, some indication of something bad going to happen, or not bad, difficulties during that period of time, per se. This is going to be my perspective of it from my life, because this is my channel and I just speak how I want to speak. And I know for a fact I can give an opinion, because I have opinions that most people don't really think about, and that can actually add on to you and make you go, oh wait, maybe that did happen. This shit is fucking crazy to me sometimes, right? I come to realize I'm a Virgo rising. And with that being the case, I first believed I was a Leo. Come to realize I am a Virgo. As a child, I've always had difficulties when it comes to relationships, per se. Is that because I'm a Virgo rising? Not necessarily, but this is something that you can find with a lot of Virgo risings. Particularly, the house of relationships is the 7th house. It could also be the 2nd house, depending. And the sign ruler for relationships is particularly Libra. We are currently in Libra season. But it can also be Taurus. And why do I say that? Because the ruling planet of relationships, partnerships, contracts is Venus. If you have had harsh aspects to Venus, Venus conjunct a malefic. In some instances, this could be Saturn, which is universally accepted malefic. Pain, loss, abuse, difficulties, restrictions, time, all sorts of delays. That's all Saturn. Another malefic could be Mars. Mars is another malefic, considered to be another malefic. Mars is anger, aggression, war, annoyance, violence. Some instances it could be like Scorpio. It could point to murder. Scorpio could be considered a malefic, or particularly Pluto could be considered a malefic. Pluto is jealousy, hate, resentment. It is all forms of death, the act of dying. These are all things that can be considered malefics. And it's funny how the chart works, because you could have, for instance, Libra, or better yet, the planet Venus in your chart, be in a 90-degree aspect or a 180-degree aspect, or even a conjunction to any of these malefics that I have pointed out. And that will sum up, in general, how your life will be around said relationships. But that does not mean that your life will be that way 100% of the time. Planets move. The earth moves. Sunrise, sunsets happen every single day without fail. Nothing stays the same forever. When it comes to the transiting sky, planets will move from conjunctions to 30 degrees away, 60 degrees away, 90 degrees away, all the way back around. So if you were born with a square or an opposition in your birth chart, that could pertain to your early childhood or early part of your life, having difficulties with said relationships, money, food, all of these things, Venus, parties, all of these things. But it will not last that way forever, because planets transit, they change positions as they move throughout the rotation patterns and cycles. So all oppositions 180 degrees apart will turn into quincunxes. Quincunxes define work, they define physical exertion, define practice, something you have to apply yourself to. So a opposition, which means you could feel like this energy, this placement has been against you for that portion of your life, now will turn into an energy you have to apply yourself to if you want to get it. And then after that period of your life moves on, then it turns into a trine. Then it turns into a trine. Trines are easily flowing aspects. They could sometimes even be beneficial aspects. They can even be beneficial aspects. For the most part, people realize or recognize trines to be beneficial. Even if you have a malefic there, like Saturn, if that is in a trine, though that malefic planet can manifest as a positive outcome. Let's look at Virgo's for an instance. Saturn is a malefic. Saturn rules Capricorn. Virgo rising has their fifth house, the house of love, the house of the sun. They have Capricorn there. Pain, difficulties, delays with love is natural for a Virgo rising. But when Saturn, wherever it is in their chart, whenever they're born, is in a trine, when Saturn is in a trine to the natal Saturn, that will be the opportunity for you to find love. or that is one indication of an opportunity for you to find love. That is one indication of an opportunity for you to start a business. That is an indication for an opportunity for you to become more disciplined. That's what people don't understand. That's what people don't really understand. Nothing stays bad forever. Why do I even bring this up? Because I am currently on Facebook in astrology groups, and new people who know nothing are all saying the same thing. Is there somewhere in your chart that can tell me why my life has been bad every single overall been bad? Why am I currently going through this? Why or what indicates having a bad life? How does a chart indicate a bad experience? How does da da da? That's not how life works. Not every single last waking moment of your life has been bad. You're going to tell me you have never in your entire life had one waking moment of happiness? You're going to tell me in your life that you have never had one good relationship experience, one good relationship experience with a partner, a friend, a parent, a job? Your life from the day you were born to the currently right now has been nothing but trash? No, it's not. No, it hasn't. Let's be serious here. Let's be serious here. I'm going to give you an example, right? You could have, and this is indicative to my chart as well, and we're talking about relationships, Libra season. Let's keep it on topic, right? Your house of relationships for everybody is going to be the seventh house. You could have Venus, for example, in your seventh house, and you can have it square Saturn, for example. You could have it square Saturn, for example, in your 10th house, right? In your 10th house. Saturn transits last about a little bit over 2.5 years. No, close to 2.5 years. About 28 months, Saturn will go through transit, unless it's in retrograde, then it'll be a little bit longer. The Saturns last a little bit over 2.5 years. Jupiter lasts 12 years. Not even 12, 11.86 to be exact. Jupiter is a benefic planet. Jupiter is winning, luck, fortune, abundance, happiness, jumping, leaping. And that's natural to the universe. Saturn cycles last more than twice as long as a Jupiter cycle. You understand that? In general, for everyone, Saturn, which is in most cases a malefic, but can point to prominent things in people's life as well. Saturn lasts more than twice as long as Jupiter. Pain, cruelty, abuse, all those keywords I gave for it, in general, will stay in one place longer than it will for another, than for Jupiter. Much longer. In general, that's just how the planets move. That's just how the planets move. So when people tell me that they're having a bad life, I'm just like, so does everybody else. If you're going to live with that mindset, so does everybody else. But Saturn isn't always bad and Jupiter isn't always good. Saturn could be abundance. Saturn could be abundance. But no, Jupiter can be abundance. It can also be in excess. Too much. If Jupiter is in a square to anything, If Jupiter is in a square to anything, it can mean too much. The, let's give another example. Venus is also food. Jupiter in a square to Jupiter could mean an excess, too much food. You might go to a restaurant. It may last, the transit may last a day, a couple hours. You may go to a restaurant, which is also Venus, and order too much food. Too much food, you can't even finish it. Now you wasted your money, waste Saturn, money, Venus. And because those planets were in a square. I think about these things, especially when I myself am going through a tough time. And it helps me, it comforts me to know that I know for a fact it won't last forever. All I gotta do is toughen it out. All you have to ever do is just toughen it out. But I can't inform everyone in the world. So there are people who will go out their way to try to, for instance, end their life short, quote unquote short, because they didn't know things like this, or they didn't know when a particular opportunity would be there for themselves, or they know how long it was going to take to get something they really wanted. Saturn, let me give you Saturn for instance, how Saturn can be a good thing. Saturn is pain and cruelty, but you know what Saturn is also? Achievement. Jupiter is happiness, Saturn is achievement, right? People will tell you happiness comes and goes, but what you accomplish will stay there forever. There's truth to that. Remember what I told you? Saturn lasts more than twice as long as Jupiter. So by definition, what you come here in this life and what you come to achieve, what you achieve literally lasts longer than your apparent happiness or the moment of happiness you had when you achieved that thing that you achieved. Literally. And I didn't really want to talk about this, but we might as well do it. Let's get a little bit dark. Let's get a little bit dark, which is also Saturn, right? I am currently going through a Saturn square natally. So I've been having very, very difficult times with Saturn and Uranus recently. So this is really on topic for me. And Saturn is currently transitingly in a square. Remember what I said at the beginning? Saturn is in Aquarius, and it is exactly 90 degrees away from Uranus in Taurus. And that's in the transiting sky. That applies to everybody, regardless of your natal chart. That applies to everybody currently. Currently. I remember one time I was on, it might have been Clubhouse or it might have been Stereo, one of the speaking apps. And I got in there and there was this lady, I think she was a Gemini or something, and she was like, oh, I was getting into astrology and I wanted to figure out why does everybody say Virgos are rapists or some shit like that, something like that. And at that time, I knew I was a Virgo rising. So I'm just like, let me hear what she has to say first before I just cut her off and be like, no, 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 you're wrong. Da, 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 da. I'm like, why is she saying that? Turns out that she was one of those people who find out about astrology, got fascinated with it, but didn't go anywhere with it. As soon as she realized the amount of work you would need to put in to actually answer the question that you were asking, you realize that you weren't really up to the task. you find it to be too much for you. It's really not hard. It's tedious, but it's not hard, and you can figure it out. So that got me questioning, right? I'm gonna start naming some people. And I'm gonna tell you why certain things happen. You may know these people, you may not know them. They're not that famous, but they do have influence, especially in the black community. I'm not too sure on this first one, but I can almost guarantee you have people like Brother Polite. Um, there was another man, Kafre. Was his name Kafre, something like that? Um, things of that nature. And Young Pharaoh to a certain extent. I didn't say he's gonna do the first thing as the last two, but this is just to give an example. Why are all Virgos abusive or whatever the heck she said? Why do Virgos give indication for that? If y'all don't know about a man named Brother Polite, I think about a year ago or so, he got finally put on trial for misconduct with a child in his household. Misconduct with a child in his household. And this other man, Kafre, or whatever his name was, I don't remember his name exactly. He got incarcerated or is currently still on trial for a situation having to do with a child that was under his custody as well. Now, when I heard these things and I figured out both of them were Virgos, that got me scared. I'm just like, oh my gosh, is this something that actually does apply to all Virgos? Does this mean I'm gonna have some sort of doing with this too? And then I'd ask myself, no, it doesn't mean that all Virgos are going to go through the same thing, or just because you have the sign of Virgo that you're gonna have these sort of things, these sort of cases under your belt. But as a Virgo, when I say I can see literally, or at least imagine how that situation played out for them, it's scary. I said we're getting a little bit dark here, Saturn. We're getting a little bit dark, but this is real astrology. This is gonna get you to what I'm talking about right now. My opinions, right, will get you to see humanity in a more understanding light. In a more of an understanding light. Remember when I said Capricorn is Virgo's natural, Virgo rising is its natural fifth house. The fifth house is children. It is also play. It is also love. Capricorn is abuse. One instance of Capricorn is abuse. It's abuse. So when I heard both of these things, and I have not read their chart completely yet. I've not read either one of their charts completely yet. But when I hear and see both of these, when I hear about these cases and see what's going on, I'm like, I'm not surprised, because your chart gave indication of you doing that. Your chart gave indication of you doing that. Now, I would have to look at their chart to see specifically, but I guarantee you there was some sort of square aspect going on. Some sort of square aspect going on. or they could have possibly been in a trine, and then, like I said, if you didn't hear me earlier, an opposition, which is a negative aspect or a malefic aspect, will turn into a quincunx, which is the aspect where you have to put in work. A quincunx will turn into a trine, a beneficial aspect. And a beneficial aspect, a trine, once you're done living your trine, once you're done in a beneficial, happy aspect, kind of like the planet Jupiter, you go into a square. You go from a trine into a square. You go from good times literally into bad times. Or you go from an easy type of life into now you got more challenges as you get older. You have more responsibility, Saturn, as you get older. It's not as sweet as it was before. It doesn't matter if you're necessarily having a bad experience or not. Life gets more challenging for a period of time and then it eases up again. So if I were to look at any one of their charts, they were probably in a trine. Per instant, they were probably in a trine, or they were outright in a square. They were in a trine or they were outright in a square. In some sort of aspects in their chart regarding probably the sun or Saturn, the sun actually being the ruler of the fifth house, or Saturn, which is the planet that rules the sign on their fifth house. That explains that. That explains that. That explains why that turned out the way that they did for them. And this isn't something that is just Virgos. That would be specific, quote unquote, negative of Virgos. You can apply this same type of stereotype to all signs. All signs have their things. Let's go to another one. Aries has in their 8th house Scorpio. The 8th house indicates how you're going to die or what wounds will eventually kill you in the end. The 8th house is your sexual organs. The 8th house is your sexual organs. Scorpio is your sexual organs. So you have the 8th house on the sign of Scorpio. Wounds that will eventually kill you related to your sexual organs. Oh, all Aries are going to get STDs. You see how stereotypes would work? All Aries at some point in life caught chlamydia, caught some sort of sexually transmitted infection or disease. You see how stereotypes work? If it does happen, I'm not surprised. If it does happen, I'm not surprised. But that doesn't mean that's the case. That does not mean that is the case. Doesn't mean that. Doesn't mean that. It all depends on your planets and the aspects they make to one another. No one can have an overall bad life. No one can, for the entirety of their life, have problems per se with relationships, with money, with your job, with your career, with your friends, with your all seasons come and go. All transits come and go in a person's life. All transits come and go. And when a quote unquote person is going through a harsh aspect, or if you see in your natal chart, you naturally have a harsh aspect, during that period of time, that just means you're supposed to refine Saturn what you have. Or if you don't have something or you lose something during that period of time, which is also Saturn, for instance, that is time for you to now focus up on something else. If you are currently having a hardship or difficulty with your relationship, a good thing to know astrology for is, what am I supposed to do then? We live in a society right now that pushes these narratives that you must have this type of relationship, you must have this type of career, you must have this type of social space, and you must have this type of family. And if at any point in time you do not have any one of these or any access to one of these things for any reason, there must be something wrong. This is why people get so effed up and psychologically effed up and think about making posts or doing things of the matter of, my life is overall be bad. No, it's not. Society is trying to tell you, if you do not have these things, your life should be bad. And people who believe in what society has dictated for them to be the way that things should be will egg on this idea. If they do see a person who does not have the family, the friends, the lifestyle, um the career that someone would expect you to have, they will go out their way to either try to help you, outcast you, or go out their way to like point you out as being the oddball. They will try to go out their way to be like, you're straying from the norm. Get back in line. Society is set up to run this way. I'm not saying that people are necessarily wrong for that. I'm not going to say you are necessarily wrong for that, but that is how the world works. That is how the majority works against the minority in general. You stray away from what is considered norm, I'm going to try to go out my way to try to correct that, separate myself from that, or take you out, because that's not how my world has been designed. That's not how I see the world, and that's not how most people operate in the world around me. It makes sense. It does make sense. So if you are someone who has a natural or natal, let me say natal, that works better. Natal opposition or square to Venus, which is relationships, income, natural square to Moon, opposition to Moon, something like that. Conjunction between Moon and a malefic, which is your family. You have um harsh aspects to your sun, which is your creative ability, your expression, your things like that. Harsh aspects even to Saturn in itself, because Saturn is your career and your achievement. If you have aspects in your life, because I'm trying to, the main reason I'm talking like this and explaining it this way is because people would say, since I was a child, or all of my life. Well, if it means all of your life, that means even from you when you were a young age, you would have to see a pattern of things not going your way, or you not really melding in with what's going on. That would indicate something that is originally in your natal chart. Then you went towards a peaceful or graceful period, a trine. Maybe you got a conjunction for a short period of time. Maybe you went in a sextile, and then it went back into a square or went back into an opposition. Because again, nobody, it is literally impossible from the moment you come out to the womb to like 45 years of age, straight, nothing but oppositions across the board, nothing but squares across the board. That's not how math works. That's not how math works. It doesn't work that way. So if you see, since you were a young age, that these things have been problems for you, there were, and you can recount the period of times where it wasn't so bad. And then when they are over, or when it goes back to another challenging aspect, the thing that astrology lets you see and do is, what am I supposed to do during that period of time? What and how am I supposed to act? What and who, where, why, how am I supposed to act? If during this period of time it's going to be extremely difficult, if not damn near impossible, for me to recover something I lost or go after these things that I want. If you know astrology, you'll see, well, if these current planets or aspects are in detriment, this other planet, this other aspect isn't really in detriment. I can work on that now. I can focus on that now. This is a great time and opportunity for now to me put my energy in here, in this other area of my life that I've been lacking in. Or if you cannot separate, or if you're trying your hardest to maintain something, that square, that opposition, that conjunction to a malefic may say the same thing. This is going to be a time for you to now keep steadfast, discipline yourself, refine this aspect of your life, refine your career, refine your money, refine your exception of yourself. This is going to test how stable, how secure, all keywords for Saturn, how stable, how secure you are in all of these areas in your life. This is how the chart works. This is how the chart works. This is how life works. Saturns usually last, or squares, well, it depends the aspect. If it's a square to Saturn or something, it usually lasts about 2.5 years, somewhere around there. Saturn will be leaving its square to Uranus during Pisces season of 2023. That's early 2023 for yours who don't know. Go search up when Pisces season is. But Pisces season 2023, Saturn will be leaving its square position from Uranus and entering the sign of Pisces, which will now be a sextile position, which is a position of social aspects, being socially involved with friends, neighbors, cousins, family members, um, um, all sorts of social activity and norms, cousins, elder siblings, uncles, aunts. This is going to be a time where you might see a little bit more difficulty in those situations, or times when you're going to have to be more responsible in social situations, or situations regarding other people other than yourselves during that period of time. Saturn has been in Aquarius, where it is currently now, since a little bit before March of 2020. And if you know what happened in March of 2020, that has affected and changed the entire world literally since then. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Find comfort knowing it's not just you going through this. Find comfort knowing this literally affects everyone in the world. And find comfort knowing that it won't last forever. The pain, the heartaches, the confusion will not last forever. Good times will come. Easier times will come. This ain't just for everybody listening to this. This is for me as well. And when good times potentially do come, another beautiful thing about astrology, you know where or when you can capitalize. Finally do something you wanted to do, or have the best opportunity. Because I cannot tell you when a Saturn comes and it's in a trine, I don't know if you're going to finally achieve something. I don't know if you're going to become more disciplined. I don't know if you're going to get a higher, well, that is achievement, never mind. Next thing I'm about to say is another form of achievement. I don't know if you're going to grow with age, wisdom. That means a more experienced person. You finally get a level of experience. I don't know when it's in a trine. When it's in a square. I don't know if Saturn is going to manifest in your personal life as you lost something, you quit something, abuse will happen, a great level of pain will happen. And it's possible, again, depending on during that Saturn transit period, a lot happens in 2.5 years. The sun will transit twice throughout the zodiac, Venus will transit, Mercury will transit, Mars will transit, all of these other planets will go throughout the entire zodiac. Even Jupiter will go throughout the entire zodiac about twice to even more than that. The moon, 12, 24, about the moon will cross over the zodiac. The moon crosses the zodiac every month. So that's why during certain periods of time, if you don't know your chart exactly, you don't know your natal positions exactly, you don't know the transiting degrees exactly, you don't know where or when in those trines, for example, you could have bad moments. You don't know where exactly in those squares you will have good moments. Like I said, me personally, I have had great moments during the past 2 years. I can even tell you for a fact, during the start of when that global thing happened across the world, that was one of the best periods of my entire life. Literally, when that thing that affected everybody, that was one of the best periods of my entire life. For a fact, that was one of the best periods of my entire life. And it's funny, as soon as it started to calm down, that's when stuff started getting rocky for me. But that's because of my particular placements and how they made aspects to one another during this transiting period. It could have been opposite for you. Now you might be going a lot better. And for somebody else, the same thing may be the case. This is why you need to know, or why I'd say now more than ever, in this time period where people are so consumed with what is going on um, in their networking space. They are so consumed with what is going on online. They're so consumed by socializing. This is the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is socializing, it is networking, it is technology, but it's also astrology. Aquarius is also knowledge. It is beneficial in this era, this age that we live in. And it will do you better now than majority of other time periods throughout life to literally know how to do these things, or to at least be familiar enough to find a dedicated astrologer to give you readings at a certain period of time. You will find benefits from it. Knowledge in general during this period of time will not only comfort you, will give you benefits that other people who don't have it can cause them problems. Keep on doing what you're doing. This was just a short little rant. You'll get more of it next time. Catch y'all later.